Where do you think your work should go? No, where do you feel your work should go? I believe every idea that comes to us has a life of its own, and it is our jobs as creators to support its growth. We need to do what is best for the idea, but what is the best way to do this? How do we support its growth? And this is where difficulties come in the creative process. You ever get stuck on what you should do, where you should take your work? Well, what if I told you that there was a way to go about this that was effortless, easy, dare I say? It would yield the best results for your art and make you a better creator by consequence. And what if I told you that you didn't have to learn anything new in order to start using this way right now? The question is, how do we go about transforming this idea into the best version of itself? How do we honor what the idea wants to become? And to this, I propose this method. Follow the feeling. Now, what do I mean, follow the feeling? Well, you know when you're conceptualizing for an idea or a story, or writing lyrics, writing a melody, and you're sensing out what notes to play, what character attributes to write, the settings for your story, and apply this to whatever creative craft you do. When you're sensing which notes to play for a melody, you're following the feeling. You're not having a logical thought and analyzing every single beat. You don't need a reason to do it, you just follow it. And so following the feeling is doing what feels best at any given moment. And what sets this apart from thinking and analyzing is evidence. You don't need evidence to follow a feeling. You don't need a reason to follow a feeling. If anything, the reason and evidence is for the existence of itself. The feeling itself is the evidence. By following the feeling, you rely more on your intuitive abilities rather than your technical logistical knowledge. You don't need to master lyric writing in order to write lyrics that hit home the same way that your favorite song does. You don't need to master screenwriting before you can feel out where your scene should go. Following the feeling is getting out of the way of the idea. But we lose this somewhere in the process when we overthink, when we hyperanalyze and start thinking about what the outside world is going to think about our work. But here's why it's important not to lose this mechanism within the creative process. Because there is no textbook, there is no guidebook on how to work on this specific creative idea that you have. Now, if you open a math textbook, there are certain rules and things that are just constant. 4 times 6 is always going to be 24. 4 times 8 is always going to be 32. 24 minus 12 will always be 12. These things won't change. But you're not going to walk into a store and find a textbook with your name written on it, with this insert project idea that you have written on it, and have a step-by-step guidebook on how to do this project. That doesn't exist. There is no blueprint and there is no textbook for your idea. You are the first human in the history of humanity to work on this idea. And so this journey that you're embarking on is unique to you. Now, of course, people have done similar things, and that's why we have rules. You might be writing a story. Well, people have written stories before. You might be writing a song. People have written songs before. And ideal rules are laws that, when applied, have proven to work for a specific intention. But here's the catch. What is that intention? And does that intention align with what you truly want to do? Does that intention align with what's best for the idea? Do you want to make the best version of this idea according to the outside world? Do you really want to transform this idea into something that is good according to this outside source? Before, I said that we have to get out of the way of the idea, but rules can often get in the way of the idea. If a rule points you to something that you like within your work, then great. But if it doesn't resonate, then why follow it? Then you are allowing that rule to transcend what you feel is best. And when you follow what feels best, you get to where the idea wants to go. If you approach this idea from a technical standpoint, you can kill the idea. You can kill the work of the creative spirit. Reminds me of the music video, Another Brick in the Wall, where students are just transformed, like a factory being molded into a constant pattern of the same thing. And that's what an idea is. It's a life. You can't put it in a box, or else it won't grow. But once you take away that box that doesn't serve the idea, you allow the idea to become what it truly wants to become. And this is why following the feeling will produce the best work, because then you are free to sense the true potential of the idea. Constantly listening to and dependent on validation, external research validation from the outside world, will put boxes over your idea. A rule could set you off path. You may think that you should follow this rule just because you heard it from a certain source, but you could just be putting the idea into a place that it doesn't want to be. And this goes with outside criticism too. I believe that criticism should be approached with the same way that you approach rules, as indicators to see what you feel is best, indicators to see what you like. And so you take what resonates and leave the rest. But once you free the idea from these outside limitations, then the idea can become better and more personal. Without letting the outside noise pollute the creative sanctuary, you allow the heart to guide the work. And rules and limitations can be great, and they can bring out your creativity. However, that is with rules and limitations that resonate, that serve the work. But again, if you just listen to a rule because of its label without checking in with yourself, then you could be forcing the idea into something where it doesn't belong. By tapping into the feeling, you tap into the solitude that exists with you and the idea. You must tap into the space and find the feeling. Now, how do you do this? How do you find the feeling? Well, you need to look for the signals. Like I said before, this has to do more with your intuitive abilities rather than your technical logistical knowledge. And so, with intuitive abilities, you need to be able to be in tune with your sensitivity. You need to be alert as you go about in the world. You might see something in the outer world that inspires something for your idea, for your creative project. And then that causes you to go down this whole creative rabbit hole and start conceptualizing. And you get all of these ideas that are feeding you. It could be anything that triggers it, a sign, a conversation, a visual thing, and all of these things will serve as signposts for where the idea wants to go, the feelings that you have to follow. And that is why you need to be alert for these things. The signs aren't just in the books that you're reading, or the videos you're watching, or the research that you're doing. The signs can be there, the things that resonate can be there, and they will be there, but they can also be anywhere else. And that is why you must be alert. You need to trust the internal navigation from the heart that is the common denominator for all of these signals, for all of these signs and feelings that are coming from these different sources. Be aware and remember that the idea is constantly growing in your waking state and in your sleep. Be aware of certain ideas that you get as you fall asleep and as you wake up from sleep. There will be many feelings and many emotions, and this is why you need to be able to tell the feeling from the rest. Following the feeling is following the intuition, but it's different from other feelings and emotions. As you probably know, if you listen to every single emotion, that can be a very dangerous thing, because not every emotion is the truth. But I like to think about it the way that my mom describes it, where intuition is calm, fear is anxious. And so you need to sense which voices are scared and which voice is calm. I believe this is why it is very important to cultivate stillness. Be comfortable in the silence. Spend intentional time in the silence. This is where you will develop your relationship with your inner stillness, where the feeling, the intuition comes from. And the more time you spend here, the more you will come to know its character, and the more you will see it when it comes up. Some of the best ideas come in the silence. And when you spend time in the silence, and not just 5 or 10 minutes, although you can start small, but when you spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours in the silence, you come across an unexpected inner power. The veil between you and your creative spirit becomes very thin, and this is the source from which the feeling sprouts. And different things in the world will trigger it and send you the feelings and the signals, but if you can spend time directly with it, intentionally, then you will deepen your relationship with the feeling. And if you want to make this even more effortless, look at it this way. Use this framework. What do I like? Ask yourself that question when you're in the creative process and you're trying to sense out what is the true feeling? What is the true direction that I need to take this work? What do you like? What do you genuinely like? Think about your favorite ice cream flavor, your favorite fruit, your favorite color, your favorite song, your favorite movie. Does it take effort to like those things? No, it's natural. You just like it, and you don't need to analyze or overthink why you like it. It's just the truth. You like it. The action of liking something is natural. It is effortless, and that is the feeling. It is effortless. And so when you're deciding between different options in your creative process, when you're figuring out where you should take your work, ask yourself, what feels best? What do I like? Which one do I like better? And ultimately, that is what following the feeling is all about. It is about what you genuinely like. It is about what your creative spirit likes, where your creative spirit wants to take the work, where it wants to take the idea. And you need to trust that liking something is enough. And that is why you need faith. You need faith in following the feeling. You need faith in this source, in this signal. And this is why following rules can be comforting, because it is hard to have faith and trust in simply relying on ourselves and our own intuition and our own feeling. And that is why it is easier to just trust some other source or some other thing that someone else said or some other rule that is proven to work for many people for some sort of intention. But again, it comes down to what is that intention, and is it necessarily aligned with the highest good for your idea? You need to have faith that the best answers are within, and it can seem absurd that you have what it takes to do what is best for this idea, but it's true. You need to have faith that this idea is alive and it has a path, and that it chose you because you are capable of helping it go in that path. Before we wrap up, I want to bring it back to the beginning about this textbook that I talked about with your name and your project and your idea. How ideal would that sound if there actually was a textbook with a step-by-step guide on how to complete your idea, on how to best bring your idea into full fruition? That would be pretty insane, right? Well, it does exist actually, and it's right here. Each and every step on how to bring this idea into fruition, on where to take your work, is available to you right here. It is available if you have the faith that it does indeed exist, and if you tap into the feeling and follow it and have the courage to act on it. I hope that this message resonates, and I hope that you start following the feeling with your work, because once you do, the idea expands and you allow it become something much bigger than you expected. You see the signals in the outer world, but remember that it is only a reflection of the power that starts within. Thank you for your time. Subscribe to this YouTube channel for more videos like these. Check out more videos on my Patreon. Check out my blogs, my music. All of these links are in the description. And join our live streams on the channel every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We do fun workshops. Alright guys, go work on those projects. Follow God, and I will see you in the next one. Dream on. God bless. Peace out.